have heard that, that B schools, the most important thing is the campus placements. And in campus placements, different kinds of roles come, like, for example, product managers, management consulting, general management kind of roles. But what is unique, which is very, very selective, is this leadership development program. And the emphasis for this leadership development program is that you will be again be trained for 2 to 3 years, depending upon the company where you got recruited, in various function areas of Porter's value chain. So I know that I have put this framework, which some of you may not be comfortable with, but this is the first framework that you're going to learn when you join a B school, which is the Porter's value chain, wherein we talk about the different function areas that constitute a company, okay, constitute an organization. So before joining a B school, maybe you have worked in procurement, maybe you have worked in marketing, maybe you worked in sales, but you wouldn't have had the holistic experience of all these function areas. Now, these leadership development programs are primarily hosted by maybe 10 to 20 companies. These days, even tier 2, tier 3 companies are also hiring, and they're absorbing in this, they're creating this LDP programs, so wherein they hire like 1 or maximum 2 per B school. So for example, IBM during my period has hired totally 15 students across the globe, and from ISB only 1 student. And so this is the opportunity for the participant, is that he or she will get on the court training for 2 to 3 years. So it's called 1 rotation. So when you finish operations, it's called 1 rotation is done, which means that you finish operations. Then you will move to procurement. Then you call 2nd rotation is done. So you go through that anywhere between 6 months to 3 years. So companies like Swiggy and all, they finish it in 6 months. Whereas companies like IBM or Google, they do it anywhere between 2 to 3 years. Post which you are given very senior roles, wherein you will handle the P&L of, suppose, Asia Pacific region. The entire region, you will be the head of it. And what is the experience that you would be having is hardly 6 years of experience, because these leadership programs are generally, they absorb you at the experience level of 3 years, 3 to 6 years. And then again, an additional 3 years of training will be like 9 years. So with between 6 to 9 years, anywhere between 6 to 9 years, you will be handling the P&L of Asia Pacific for IBM. So that's the kind of opportunity that you have. Okay. Now, why should you apply? So you may ask this question that, why should I apply? It is so tempting. Anybody and everybody wants to get selected. In fact, though it is told that management consulting or product management is the most sought out job opportunity in a B school, nobody talks much about this leadership development program, because the opportunity set is very, very less. Maybe from a B school, hardly 15 of them get selected for various leadership development programs offered by, as I told you, some 30 to 50 companies. And the selection process is very stringent, which is something that I'm going to talk about a little later. So why should you apply? Definitely fast track your career, and you will be getting exposure to all function areas. And when I say exposure, it is not like an internship that you go and just do it for 1 or 2 weeks, not like that. You will be given a real challenge. Like, for example, there could be that when you join marketing, maybe you need to make the go-to-market strategy for an upcoming product of the company, which is going to have a direct impact on the P&L. The advantage that you would have is that there would be very senior most VPs, SVP kind of people who would be your mentors. So the chances of you failing would be less, and your learning trajectory is going to be very, very high. So you will finish maybe 6 months in marketing, then you will move to technology development. In technology development, again, you will be given a problem statement. Like maybe you need to get your team design a particular product. You need to mentor a set of product managers. Whatever is related to the technology development, again, there's 6 months, totally different, totally tangential topic you will be working on, and you will be doing hands-on work. That's the critical aspect, is you will be doing hands-on work along with your mentors. and you will be mentored step by step such that you don't fail. And in that way, you will be getting exposure to different roles and function areas. You will have very senior most people reporting to you, and you will learn that organization behavior. How do you, what kind of leadership style you need to use when you have like, 30 plus years experience people reporting to you. So all those kind of things you are not, in your job. And because of this, what will happen is that you will get exclusive opportunities once you leave the company. So after you finish the LDP, generally companies don't have a bond kind of a thing, but they structure your pay incentives in such a way that you are bound to stay in the company for 5 years, like through your stock options or bonuses and so on and so forth. So there is no bond, but once you leave, you will be joining much more senior positions in bigger companies. Now, how are these LDPs structured? First thing is that they are going to assess you and they will make a plan. So it's like a project plan. The way you develop a product, they will be developing you. So you will be having an end-to-end thorough assessment done, 360 degrees feedback taken, and there will be a plan that will be formulated in a discussion with you, your mentor, your line manager, and other people from the leadership development program team. So you will be having a plan ready. And then along with that, it is like a grind, okay? It's like a boot camp grind wherein you will have to attend certain classroom training sessions. You have to attend certain workshops. You have to take certain online training sessions to be completed over the weekend. And then you also have to work like any other peer of yours in solving the problem that is given to you. And this is going to be like a rotational assignment. You will be having periodic calls with your mentors and coaches. So they will adapt to your leadership style to see how best they can capitalize your skills and competencies.
Right. So Susila, I had a question here. So since there are 6 rotational cycles for this particular program, right? What if, a candidate feels in the 3rd rotational cycle that, he or she has got what they wanted to do or wanted to pursue some particular department more. So do they have like, can they like go ahead and just focus on that department and, pick their career from there? Or do they have to go through all the 6 rotations to get to the final stage?
It depends upon the company. Okay. So for example, big giants, they don't recommend you to preempt in between. It is like they say that, it's like a product development for them. They're developing you. Okay. So they don't like that, you preempting it in between and saying that, okay, let me stick to the HR now because I find this interesting. So they wouldn't like it. But however, it depends upon the companies. Maybe a small company, if there is a need there and they see that you're doing really well there and you yourself are seeing that, that you have a career there, they may give you an option.
Oh, right. All right. So I think next is the different kind of programs.
Yes. So these are a few that are listed here, which is like Coca-Cola, Amazon, GSK, Microsoft, Siemens. But these days, there are many more companies that are offering, as I told you, not just the giants, but companies like, Swiggy, L'Oreal, they are also offering this leadership program. So they have started launching this because they want to attract the best of the talent, because many of the B school students, they prefer this over the other roles. But why do they prefer this over the other roles is because in the leadership development program, they also get to be a management consultant. So they get to have that experience also, which is something very rare. And so that's one reason why they would prefer to take this program. And so these companies like Swiggy, L'Oreal, they want to attract the best talent. So they have launched these programs, and they are also seeing the benefit of it by putting the person through the various function areas. And by the end of it, they can make them the head of maybe Dubai, or they can make them the head of a particular region, so on and so forth. Other than these companies, Hinduja, Unilever, Procter & Gamble, then ABJ, then Disney Hotstar, All these are also offering leadership development program. But as I told you, maximum 15 to 20 students get the opportunity. So it's a very, very rare species is what I can say. And once you finish the grind, you are not the same person anymore, because it is not the hard skills alone, but you will be evolving in your personality, your soft skills, your communication skills, the way you negotiate, the way you would communicate with different kinds of stakeholders, with your customers, so on and so forth.
Right. So one question over here is more from a student's perspective. If I'm not very clear about what path to choose, being very clear about, I want to pick a particular stream itself, and I want to keep my skills more agnostic, or I'm not very clear of what to pick. Maybe these leadership programs could also be a channel for them to figure out what they really would want to focus on in their as their next step. Exactly. Is that like a correct thing here?
Yes, exactly. Because what happens is these programs are generally is for this 3 years to 6 years, or 6 to 8 years. Maximum is 8 years. Experienced people is what they get this opportunity. And sometimes these 3 years experienced people, they're not certain of where they want to head towards. And when they join this leadership program, having a mentor and a coach, they themselves will tell you that maybe, Susila, why don't you do this? I think looks like you are good in this. So that kind of an intervention would happen for them during the journey. And then they can find their true potential and true passion, and they can then pursue their career in that direction.
Right. So I was talking to, this is just to add to what Susila has been talking about. I was talking to one of our ex-student who went through the GLDC program, which is a global leadership development program with the bank called CIBC. And he was talking about, how through all the top schools in Canada, CIBC, not only CIBC, but other banks also hire for these leadership roles. And apart from just the general leadership or the global leadership role, they also have specific tracks like marketing leadership roles or finance leadership roles, or specific general management based leadership roles, which is slightly more stream focused, but at the same time, they are also looking at getting you to those CXO level kind of a roles, right? And similar to what this Amazon Pathway program is, where you are almost like an entrepreneur of one particular unit, which could be like 4,000 people that you're working with, and you're like Susila mentioned, responsible for the P&L of that entire storage center, or their storage center, right? So that's a lot of different aspects of across different industries also, whether it is retail or whether it is banking, that these kind of programs make a huge lot of difference in a candidate's career journey. So Susila, more from the hiring process, maybe you could throw some light on how do they actually select these students? Do they look at grades, or do they look at their previous experience? What does matter? Because if we are looking at an MBA program, most people who start their course would be ranging from 2 years to even more than 20 years in some cases, right? So what are they looking for, the recruiters, for these leadership roles? Because I'm also assuming that they are creating their management team, and they want to make sure that they build this management team and take them to the next level. How do they identify these candidates from a particular MBA class, and what do they go through?
Right. So first thing you need to understand is that this is a very, very selective process for the fortune few people in the B school. The resume itself is reviewed by the VP of the organization. Generally, if you have seen in any B school, we send a bunch of resumes, and they get reviewed by the HR manager and HR team. But in this case, the resumes are reviewed by the VP of the organization, and they look at your earlier experience. In your earlier experience, are you like a go-getter? Are you having an independent thought process, like an entrepreneurial mindset? Then are you extremely good in troubleshooting? the kick-ass kind of people. So how do they get to know those kind of people is through your cover letter. So in your cover letter, because in your resume, you will have only 3 to 4 points for each role. Definitely you can write whatever way you can write, but in your cover letter, you can state, you can really demonstrate how did you apply your, what is your leadership style? How did you apply the leadership style in your life, both personal and professional life? What are some of the results that you have accomplished? And what are some of the independent initiatives that you have taken in your organization, though they were not part of your job responsibility? So they actually look at people who are who hit the ground running. Okay, so and that is how they first do the first filtering. The second level is elaborate interview process, and the interviews could be for 5 rounds, 7 rounds by various function heads, and very senior people do the interview. And the interviews include multiple aspects. One is your core MBA concepts that you have mastered, then your case interviews, and then your behavioral aspects and your prior experience aspect. So the interviews are going to be extremely grilling, and post which is when the result is announced. Right. So, and sometimes even they give an assignment, like you have to make the go-to-market strategy and next 1 hour, and after 1 hour, they will again schedule a call.
Right. So are these, I'm assuming these are more face-to-face kind of interviews that they have in that region, right?
Yes, yes. So, of course, post-COVID, things have changed a lot, but otherwise, all of these are face-to-face. Yes.
Right. And when you say case interviews, what kind of case studies are they given? Are they given business challenges? Is it more like a team-based thing, or because they are specifically looking at a candidate? How does that work?
Right. So the case interviews are going to be, as I told you, it's going to be 5 to 6 rounds of interviews. So the case interview, maybe in one interview, it could be about providing a consulting solution. Like one company is not doing well, and you as a consultant have to ensure that the company starts getting profits. Okay, in 6 months' time, what are some of the actions that you need to take? How are you going to evaluate it? That could be one. Another could be that employees are not satisfied, and what are some of the steps that you are going to take such that the employee satisfaction rating increases. So that depends upon, that is testing your organization behavior concept. The other one could be about finance. So the finance, it could be that the top line is doing very well, but the bottom line is not going well. What are some of the initiatives that you can take such that you can combat that? So it is going to be, it's going to be a very, very holistic interview. It's not going to be unidirectional, unifocused interview. So the different round, in each round, the complexity increases and the function area that they would be testing would be different.
Right, right. And some of these leadership programs also provide internships. So, like for example, the GLDP thing that I was talking about in Ivy Business School in Canada, they were providing 4 months of summer internships to students for a similar same GLDP program where it starts like one rotation starts through the internship itself, right? So that's also some options that people have as part of these leadership programs.
Yes.
Next is more from the skills that is required, right? Now I'm looking at it more from an MBA aspirant perspective. How do I first of all, what are the skills that are required as which are listed here, and more importantly, what do I do to develop these skills right now? And when I go to an MBA program, what can I focus on, or what should I focus on when I get into the MBA program, if I'm looking at or eyeing for any of these LDP programs?
Okay, see, first thing is that whoever is aspiring to join a B school, they may be having an experience anywhere between 3 years to maybe 10 years. Okay, so a 10 years experienced person maybe would have worked in 2 function areas or 3 function areas, but the 3 years experienced person would have been worked in only 1 function area. When I say 1 function area, it could be operations alone, it could be HR alone, and all that. So rather than being just focused only on that function area, you need to broaden your horizon. Now, how do you broaden your horizon is that, see, you will not be given tasks for your current role. A role is, suppose you're in HR, you will not be given a task of technology development. But through networking, you need to somehow get a sense of, what is the dynamics of technology development, what are some of the skills that a person in technology development is needed, what are some of the skills a manager of a technology development team is needed. So like that, you need to broaden your horizon first. The second thing is that you need to be able to let go of your failures very quickly and start taking actions to make your group or your project successful. So that is where the decision making is very, very important. What happens is, what I personally have seen, because I have mentored more than 100 plus students of Indian School of Business, what I have seen is that once they fail, they indulge in the failure more than looking at what else can I do to be successful. So that indulgence is not at all appreciated, because you will be in a very senior leadership role after you finish this LDP. So you need to develop that skill of, just keeping that failure aside and keep looking at, okay, how can I fulfill my targets? What else can I do to fulfill my targets? And then you should be very good in troubleshooting. So I would strongly urge that, you take up some, if you have finished your GMAT and you have time to fill your application and all that, take up some case studies and notice how you're solving them. Are you using your analytical mind? Are you just doing a gut feeling and then doing it? And then how much time it is taking to solve a case? If it's taking half an hour for the first case, you should be able to solve the case within 7 to 8 minutes in the interview. So you should develop that skill from now itself, because if you have the bandwidth and the time, if you finish your GMAT and have the bandwidth and the time, then you should start preparing for it now itself. And then communication skills. Is your communication, so first of all, you need to identify your communication style. Is your style cajoling, coaching kind of a thing? Is your style direct like mine? Is your style, what is it? And what style works where? So what kind of leadership style I need to bring in where? So those kind of 360-degree feedback, which generally a B school does post joining, you should do it well before, and then make 3 to 4 corrections that you can do. Okay. And then one thing that is needed for a leader is adaptability. You need to be adaptable to the situation. You can't be rigid, saying that, okay, this only will work, I will only tell. No. So adaptability and flexibility. So these are some of the soft skills I can say that you need to develop. On the hard skills point, you need to have quick computational power. Like, though in GMAT you have done during quant, maybe you got 52 upon 51 upon 51, doesn't matter. But you will be given case studies which will have a lot of numbers. You should be able to calculate the numbers and give it quickly. Though you can use your mobile's calculator, that's not an issue. But still, you should be able to use it fast, because they will ask you to give the return on investment, this ratio, that ratio, all these financial ratios, and market size. What is the market penetration percentage? Everything you need to solve with the interviews. So if you have the time now and the bandwidth now, I would strongly urge you to take certain cases and start preparing for it right now.
Right. So what I also understand is a lot of these LDPs hire in the first semester or second semester, or at least start the recruitment process in the first semester and second semester. However, obviously the program starts after the MBA is done. How does an MBA really help someone in this leadership development role? One aspect, obviously, because they hire only MBAs, but at the same time, how does the program or the MBA program as such help someone in an LDP kind of a role, and how can they get better at it as they go ahead in their career?
See, these recruitment, generally the campus placement happens after the core term. The core term is where your foundation of management concepts are all, set. So they are all laid in the core terms. Okay? And in the core term is when you will learn a lot of frameworks at a very fast pace, especially if you're in a 1-year MBA like ISB and other programs where it's typically 1 year. In the core term, you will be learning all those frameworks. So what they will be looking at is first of all, your concept of the framework and how well are you in applying that framework for that particular problem. So there could be a problem like I need to increase the revenue stream of a vertical. Now, a digital marketing person may say that, I think you should launch some campaigns, you should do this, you should do that. But an MBA B school person will not speak like that at all. He has to immediately put a framework. If he's not putting a framework, he's in a no there itself. So what the companies look at is what's your mastery in the framework and how well you're applying them and how quickly are you able to solve the problem by putting in some numbers. So you can't just put some say that, okay, I will do digital marketing. Now, this is the campaign I will run for 1 lakh and, the market size is, you can make assumptions. The market size is 10 lakhs, the conversion would be this much. So this would be my revenue. So you should be able to do it in a very fast pace, one by one. And that is what they will be looking at. And that is where an MBA comes in place, because once you join MBA, you may be operating at a particular speed. Like, for example, your day-to-day operations, you are used to operating at maybe 50 kilometers per hour. I'm just giving an example. Okay. But once you join an MBA, you will be immediately switch it to 100 kilometers per hour. That will be your speed, both in applying, mastering the frameworks, both in problem solving, in developing your business acumen, communication skills, leadership skills, everything. So, so what the companies are looking at is a person who can handle that kind of a stress, that kind of a grind. And that is why they choose a person from an MBA, because he's put through that. He's put through that stress, he's put through that grind, and he survived. The most important point is he survived and he came out successfully, or he will come out successfully. And that's why they choose an MBA, and that's where MBA is required.
Right. Right. So, Susila, I had one question, and I remember our discussion when we were talking about this, designing this entire session. I remember you told us that you carved your own rotational leadership path, and you had your own reasons for doing that, especially going after 14 years of work experience to do an MBA in ISB. So, more from your journey perspective, if you can throw some light on how you planned this, what was your rationale behind it, and what were the challenges you faced, or I would say criteria that these recruiters had when they came to campus at ISB when you were applying, or when you were applying for the roles post MBA?
Sure. So first thing I want to say is that I joined ISB by taking a sabbatical from Motorola. Okay, so which means that I would join back. Motorola was acquired by Nokia by then. Sorry. So the promise was that I would join back Nokia, and the reason why I have taken sabbatical was for personal reasons. I was a mother. I am a mother, and that time my daughter was hardly 4 years old. And I was worried whether she will be able to stay separate from me or not. And so I said that I will take a sabbatical in case, she is not able to handle my absence. I will just quit my MBA and join back to work as well as her, as well as the family. So when I joined ISB, campus placements was there, but that was not my priority one, because I anyway would have joined back Nokia. And that is the reason when I went to Spain, I took the option that I will not be participating in campus placements. But when I was in Spain, one of the things that I used to do very often was I used to observe a Porter's value chain. That's like Michael Porter is my favorite of all the business leaders. So I used to observe. I used to say that how can I traverse through this entire function area all by myself, because now I'm not part of the campus placement, and for my age, no company will hire me for LTP. So what I did was I joined back Nokia. I worked in my earlier role for hardly 6 to 8 months. And I always used to be, on the ground running, scouting for a new role. So what I did was in 6 to 8 months, I found a role in supplier quality. And in supplier quality, I chose software because 14 years of software experience. I worked and understood the dynamics. Please mark the word, you will never be able to understand the complete end-to-end of the function area in 1.5 years. But you will be able to understand the dynamics of supplier, that means procurement quality. I understood that. Immediately after 1.5 years, I again applied through internal job market, moved into procurement excellence. which is procurement. You can call it as business development. I moved there. And then again, I was there only for 1 year, understood the dynamics, moved into market operations. So in Nokia, there was a talk about me that, this girl keeps shifting function areas. Don't know why. Like jack of all, master of none. But I had my own internal strategy and I wouldn't bother about those comments. So I moved into supply chain, worked for 2 years there, understood the dynamics there, moved to workforce management, interacted with HR and all, understood the dynamics. Again, I used to look at Michael Porter's function value chain very often. I covered everything. If you can see that, I covered everything other than firm infrastructure development, which I will not get an opportunity. That's when I said I should resign and I should start on my own, because one of the reasons I went to Spain is because Spain IE Business School is very famous for entrepreneurship. So that's how I carved out my rotational leadership program.